Reporters Chung-pui Kuen and Patrick Lam from China have found themselves in the middle of a growing controversy surrounding the freedom of speech in the country. They swear they reported in the favor of democracy and for the greater good of the public. The courts in Hong Kong are not convinced and have found the two journalists guilty of publishing seditious content.
在理会特待访问乌克兰期间，乌克兰总统泽连斯基
The case is critical for Hong Kong in an atmosphere of growing social and political restrictions, since it will define what the judicial system recognizes as legitimate reporting. The trial is the first of its kind to deal directly with journalism and media, according to observers in Hong Kong. It comes amidst Hong Kong's aggressive push to crush dissent. The pair was arrested by the Hong Kong National Security Police in 2021, along with other members of the Stand News staff. Who are the two journalists under arrest and why is the Hong Kong government prosecuting them? Stand News was founded as a non-profit online news organization by media veterans in the region. At the time of its closing, the news organization has amassed 1 million followers on Facebook and Instagram, and was lauded for its critical coverage. The impetus behind the organization was providing independent media coverage which challenged the authorities. The organization gained traction for its extended coverage of the anti-government protests in Hong Kong in 2019 to 2020. It provided live coverage to viewers from the front line of the protests, showing police clashes with demonstrators. So what exactly were the protests in Hong Kong and what is their link to the arrest of the two journalists? Hong Kong was established as a British colony after the Qing dynasty relinquished control in 1841 to 1842. Sovereign control over the island was handed to the People's Republic of China in 1997. The protests in 2019 started against plans by the Hong Kong authorities to allow the extradition of Hong Kong citizens to mainland China for legal judgment. Critics of the bill stated this risked exposing Hong Kong to unfair legal treatment, as due process rights were unfairly violated in the PRC. They also argued the bill would give China greater control over Hong Kong, and the ruling could be used to target activists and journalists. Around 2 million protesters organized peacefully in Hong Kong on the 16th of June 2019. The extradition bill was rescinded, but protests in Hong Kong continued. The movement evolved into a call for greater change in Hong Kong, reaching violent heights around the time of the 70th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, as police attacked protesters. In 2021, Hong Kong witnessed the shutdown of dozens of civil society groups under the shadow of a Beijing-imposed national security law, with many prominent activists arrested. Sedition laws were introduced in Hong Kong when it was a British colony. The laws were not used until 2020, when Beijing imposed new national security laws in response to months of anti-government protests a year earlier. Since Hong Kong was a former British colony handed back to China in 1997, it has its own judiciary and a separate legal system under the One China, Two Systems policy. The rights enshrined in this legal system include freedom of assembly and the freedom of speech. The National Security Law, or Article 23, criminalizes anything considered as secession, which is the breaking away from China, subversion, which is undermining the power of authority of the central government, terrorism, which is using violence or intimidation against people, and collusion with foreign or external forces. These crimes are punishable with a life sentence. Hong Kong's Premier John Lee underscored the importance of the bill in order to protect the country against potential sabotage and undercurrents that try to create troubles. China's Vice Premier Deng Xiaoqiang said it would protect China's core interests and allow for threats to national security to be squashed. The shutdowns involving the arrest of the top brass of Stand News were part of the crackdown on dissenting members of civil society. Many activists were prosecuted, silenced, or forced into self-exile after the 2020 security law took effect. In December that year, authorities arrested members of Stan News's top management and froze its assets.
在理会特代访
The
问乌克兰期
city's
间，
Secretary for Security,
乌克兰总统
Crackdown,
泽连斯基
criticized the
也
outlet, stating its
也会
reports
还
were
分别从
misleading. Residents of Hong Kong were more receptive to their coverage, ranking the organization amongst the most credible outlets in the city in 2019. The prosecution's case is based on 17 articles published between July 2020 and December 2021, including stories featuring pro-democracy lawmakers. The articles that were labeled legally seditious by the Hong Kong authorities included criticism of the police's actions towards protesters during the protests. Steve Lee, head of the police National Security Department, told reporters Stan News had published news and commentary inciting hatred against authorities. He stated some of the articles alleged protesters went missing during the city's 2019 pro-democracy unrest or were sexually harassed, which he called factually baseless and malicious. Lee also said some articles falsely claimed the Communist Party extended its powers through the city's independent courts. Lee emphasizes the state is not targeting journalists, but rather seeking to eliminate any threats to national security. Stan News maintains they have only ever provided professional and honest coverage. The judge supervising the case, Kuen, has commented, "The court rules that Chung is aware and agrees with the sedition intent, and provides Stan News as a publication platform with an intent to incite hatred against the central and Hong Kong government." The Freedom House has ranked Hong Kong as being partly free, the second lowest ranking, and gave it the lowest possible scores for the provision of political rights. The shutdown of Stan News and other media outlets has led to the once flourishing media scene in Hong Kong to wither. Hong Kong currently ranks 135th out of 180 on the Reporters Without Borders assessment of press freedom this year. As a sweeping rhetoric of national security is used to squash criticism against the government, spectators in Hong Kong await the announcement of the journalist's final prison sentence. In a letter read to the court on behalf of Lam, he mentioned how he regretted not letting the public know journalists do not have to be loyal to anyone, support anyone, or be enemies of anyone. And if we really have someone to be loyal to, it will be the public, and only the public, because we believe in freedom of the press and freedom of speech.